2024 has been such an incredible year for movies. Welcome to Bite Size Bunny, my name's Tony, and these are the top 10 best movies of 2024, at least in my opinion. For the record, I haven't seen everything that's released this year, so I know I missed out on some truly great films, but without much further ado, let's get to it. I can't begin to express how truly delightful this film is. The Wild Robot has managed to make me cry 4 times over the 2 viewings I've had of it. And I'm not talking a little teary-eyed, I'm talking full-blown crying, trying my hardest to stay as quiet as possible so I'm not interrupting other people's viewing experience, while getting a little choked up and trying to remember to take some breaths. The music is breathtaking. I was obsessed with the soundtrack, so much so that it managed to make its way onto my Spotify Wrapped, with the theme song being my most listened to song of the year. The story is very simple and straightforward, but it feels so genuine and heartfelt, and the animation is gorgeous. The way it evolves over the course of the film and progressively looks more and more painting-like as the story goes on is absolutely mesmerizing. I didn't quite know what to expect from The Last Showgirl, but it is fantastic. This one gets its wide release in January, but I was lucky enough to catch it in December, and I'm so happy that I did. Pamela Anderson gives a stellar performance in a film that kind of reminds me of 2008's The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. You're watching this showgirl on the last days of her performance after she receives a notice that her show will be getting shut down, and she's having to come to terms and grapple with what this means for her life now, since this is all she's ever known. It's a heartbreaking story, but it's handled in such a raw and real way, and I really admire that about this movie. This may be one of the most underrated films of 2024. This is one of those films that the less you know going into it, the better your experience is going to be. It's this riveting horror thriller that tells its story out of order, but it's structured in such a way that it has you constantly on the edge of your seat wondering what's gonna happen next. It's a damn shame this didn't do better at the box office than it ended up doing. Furiosa is a drastically different story than its predecessor. This is not Fury Road 2. Instead, what you get is a true epic that covers the life of Furiosa in such a masterfully crafted way, while also building out the world of the Wasteland and expanding upon the story and the world building in the best ways possible. Anya Taylor-Joy is one of my favorite actors, and she crushes it here. Her performance is truly exceptional. You've also got Chris Hemsworth acting his butt off and playing this role to perfection as the menacing villain. Luca Guadagnino is quickly becoming one of my favorite directors working right now. He's got such a vast filmography where he tackles so many different genres in such drastically different ways, but whatever the film is, you know you're going to be getting something truly special. And Challengers is no exception. I loved the kinetic energy and how this film was edited. You've got top tier performances from the entire cast, a twisted, toxic romance story that's interesting to watch unfold, and a soundtrack from Trent Reznor. What more could you want? As someone that's not a fan of found footage films whatsoever, I was truly blown away by Late Night with the Devil. David Dastmalchian carries this exceptional horror film following the final unaired episode of a late night talk show that is dying, and the host tries to go to extreme measures in order to boost viewership numbers and save the program. I was glued to the screen from beginning to end, and this one really stuck with me ever since I saw it at the beginning of the year. I will happily rewatch this one over and over again throughout the upcoming years, especially around the time of spooky season. What Denis Villeneuve has managed to pull off with Dune is truly awe-inspiring. I haven't been this obsessed and truly engrossed in a film universe since Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. And if he manages to pull it off with Dune Messiah, I think we might have a trilogy that could be on par with the best film trilogy of all time. Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya have such good chemistry, and their romance is the heart of the story. Austin Butler is terrifying as Fade. Javier Bardem is extremely charming as Stilgar. Everyone is on their A game in this project. Dune Part 2 feels epic in scope. From its music, to its action, to its storytelling and world building, everything about this feels larger than life. Cuckoo has got to be one of the most creative, bizarre, unnerving horror films I've seen in years, and I loved everything about it. Hunter Schafer is exquisite in this role. She knocks it out of the park, and I really loved what she brought to this character and story. I love the design of the creature. It's such a simplistic design, but it's just downright creepy. And as you learn more and more about its backstory, it just makes it all that more unsettling. This feels like everything I loved about 70s and 80s horror perfectly wrapped up into one project. Love Lies Bleeding is from Rose Glass, the director of Saint Maud, and that alone was enough to sell me on this film. I thought Saint Maud was one of the most haunting and truly disturbing horror stories I had seen in the last 10 years. So I was stoked to see what Rose Glass had to offer when she was making the jump over to crime thrillers, which is a genre I'm a sucker for, so I was even more excited for this movie. Rose Glass's direction is top-notch, and the way she chooses to unravel the story is wonderfully handled. This movie has that same grimy, gross feel you got when watching Saint Maud, making the world feel more lived in and realized. And this is one of those films that keeps its cards close to its chest. For the first half hour, it kind of has you guessing what's going on and where the story is headed. Then there's the pivotal scene that lets you know shit's about to go off the rails, and from that point forward, it is a total nail-biter. Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien deliver such captivating performances, and they have great chemistry. Ed Harris delivers a genuinely unsettling performance in his role, and the violence is shockingly violent. This movie is one hell of a ride. And at my number one spot, my favorite movie of 2024, I've got Anora. Sean Baker is back with his latest film, and he does not disappoint. This is an emotional roller coaster, as you'd probably expect from the director of The Florida Project. It's intense, it's funny without being a comedy, it's endearing, it's heartbreaking. You are going to feel everything while watching this movie. Mikey Madison delivers an Oscar-worthy performance. She brings so much to this role. She does a phenomenal job at making you feel everything this character is going through, whether it's through her memorable dialogue or during those more quiet moments where you can just read everything that's going on with her without her saying a single word. It's easily one of the best performances of the year. Top it all off with a fantastic soundtrack and an intense story that manages to capture a very similar energy to the Safdie brothers' chaotic nightmare that is Uncut Gems, and you've got my favorite film of 2024. And my god, that final scene, it is devastating and has really stuck with me over the past couple of months. Definitely not a feel-good movie. And those are my top 10 best movies of 2024. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, and all that YouTube stuff. And what are your top 10 favorite movies of the year? I'd love to know.